I built the best apocalypse weapons using recycled junkyard scrap. And today we're going to test all of them and find out which one will be the most effective in an emergency situation. We have all these weapons here, extremely brutal, but the first one we're going to start with is this one right here. For this weapon here, I thought about building something longer so we can hit a target while being a little farther away from it. So I took this big beam, attached it to this extremely brutal saw blade with several very sharp and pointed teeth which would destroy almost anything. I secured everything with 2 screws and a chain. The chain was mainly decorative and added weight since it wasn't very useful otherwise. For each weapon, we'll do 3 tests considering possible scenarios in a zombie apocalypse. The first test is to destroy the zombie, which today is represented by a bottle. If we were kind of cornered in a place and only had a dense forest to escape through, it would be helpful if our weapon could break wood and other materials. That's why we're testing it on a banana tree. The final test is the most complicated. We would need to break into some houses to get supplies, so let's see if our super tool could break a brick. Let's start the first test of this weapon. How do you think it'll do smashing this zombie? 3, 2, 1. Damn, the hit was so strong on this side. Here you can clearly see the teeth going into the bottle and tearing it apart, completely shredded. If this were a zombie, my friend, you'd already be safe because the creature would be wrecked. This weapon was monstrous in the first test. Let's see if it performs well again. Breaking the banana tree. With the first hit, half of the banana tree was already in. We started strong. This weapon is already dominating. It'll be tough for any other to surpass it. But there's still the last test, the hardest one, the hit on the brick. What is this? If it were a house, we would have done some damage, but let's treat this as the building's wall. And we need to break in because there's a first aid kit inside, which is what we need right now. Wow, we actually got in. We got in easily. Honestly, I'm not sure if the next weapons will be as effective as this one, but we'll only know by testing them. Unlike the previous weapon, this one is much smaller, has a lot more mobility, and is quite similar to an axe. It has this extremely sharp blade, and on the other side these teeth so we can tear through anything. Besides, it's pretty heavy, so one strike is enough to break things apart. But in this case, I'm not going to say anything else. I'm going to show you in 3, 2, 1. It's going to be with this part right here. What is this, man? That's crazy. I hit it with this part full of teeth, and even so, it broke the bottle in half. Look at the state this is in. It wasn't a clean cut, obviously, but you can see that the bottle split into 2 parts. Since the mobility of this weapon is really good, it would be perfect for a situation where we're cornered by a bunch of zombies and need to escape quickly. We need to cut part of a tree, enter a house, and that's what we'll simulate. Oh my God, look at how many zombies are coming. We need to be quick. First mission accomplished. There, I need to get into that house to save myself. Damn, it's locked. But I have a gun. I made it into the house and I'm safe. You guys like the simulation, right? Dabo is already tired. Dude, you wouldn't survive an apocalypse.
In this 40-degree heat, of course not. I'm sweating like crazy under my arms. You're not, right?
Don't miss this chance, okay? Now, this weapon here is already quite different from the previous ones, and it has something very specific about it. It doesn't have any points or a blade, which limits some strikes, like, for example, on the bottle. I don't think we could do much with it, but I'll replace that with some hits. Man, look at what we did here. The hits dented the car, messed all of this up. From here, we still made a strong impact in the zombie apocalypse. Ideally, you have a group where everyone has a specific weapon. This here can be much better, for example, for breaking something rather than cutting, while someone else would have a blade to help in other situations. I think it's very hard for it to cut, but with a lot of patience, we can tear up the banana tree stump until it falls down. Or at least make a big mess. Another cool adaptation for this weapon would be to put a metal tip on it, build something pointy with a sharper tip, and that way we can use it in more situations. This big chunk here is ideal for breaking things like this. This weapon should outperform the previous ones. 3, 2, 1. My friend, it looked like paper. One hit and you don't see any brick left. That's some real aggression. For sure, for this situation here so far, this was by far the best. The next weapon, it's smaller, has more mobility, but it's much more aggressive. In the front, it has 2 cutting discs with very sharp teeth. Just like the first one, it's really rough and aggressive. There are still spikes on the side, so if you miss the front hit and catch it sideways, it'll still cause damage. Besides those barbed wires wrapped around it, in other words, this thing is aggressive in 360 degrees. The grip is good where you hold it and you can use both hands. And just like a baseball bat, you swing it like this. 3, 2, 1. This here would be our zombie. Look at the damage it did with the first hit. It cut the bottle and tore everything apart. We managed to tear this part here and this other one too. With both blades, there was nothing left of the bottle. Man, that's aggressive. Every new weapon seems better than the last. I think that happens because it's heavy and at the same time maneuverable. It offers good mobility with both hands and is easy to hold. Let's see the damage it would do to a banana tree. Unlike the other weapons, instead of cutting, it tears apart. Because the 2 blades point toward the center, forming a third blade where they join together. From here, my friend, look how chewed up it is. But like every weapon has its pros and cons, I think the downside of this one is breaking walls, blocks, and things like that. In this situation, I don't know if it would be one of the best so far, but let's find out together. Open the door, I want to come in. Open the door, damn it. How rude, right? Open the door. In an apocalypse with no homeowner, you have to get in regardless. Our last apocalyptic weapon has more of a patriotic American vibe, which is this crazy axe bat from Captain America. I had a shield. I bent it to make it stronger, so it ended up with a pretty rough side blade. I secured everything with screws in the center, and this wooden handle is what gives it structure so you can hold this and destroy things. This would be a good weapon because it's light. The beam and the parts aren't very heavy. Despite the size, you could have good mobility to smash some zombies, turn, pull, do crazy moves, and still carry it easily. But enough talking. Let's see. In practice, the destruction on the zombies even ripped off their noses. Although it's not that sharp at this point, it has a very aggressive tip capable of making holes with extreme force. It hit from the side and tore the bottle plus another tear up here. Basically, it could save you in a zombie apocalypse. It's time for the second test. Oh, look what happened. Maybe because this plate is thinner, its main function isn't to take hits. But there's no way to avoid the test. We're going to test it by trying to break a brick or a wall, whatever it is in the apocalypse, to see how it performs. Look, it still hits like this and finishes the destruction. Aesthetically, this is the most beautiful weapon of the apocalypse. In terms of performance, it was good, but not as much as the others. I would give it a 3.5. Tell me, which apocalyptic weapon we tested today was your favorite? Leave your answer in the comments. I'm also leaving an apocalypse video here since I know you like it. Go watch it. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.